What if I told you that the airline industry has quietly engineered one of the most effective wealth transfers in modern consumer history? And most people are not only fine with it, they actually feel grateful while it's happening? Not angry, grateful. I want to talk about why that is. Because the answer reveals something about how your brain processes money that goes way beyond flights. And once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about the architecture of pricing and why smart people consistently pay more than they should. If you're someone who has ever closed a flight booking tab feeling vaguely scammed, even though you technically agreed to everything, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today we are going deep on airline seat fee unbundling. And by the end of this video, you will understand not just the fees themselves, but the psychological machinery behind them. The same machinery that operates at car dealerships, software companies, hotel chains, and your cable bill. And near the end, I'll show you a simple 2-minute calculation that can tell you whether a cheap flight is actually cheap before you get trapped in the checkout funnel. Let's get into it. Here's the thing. Most people think airline seat fees are just a minor annoyance, like, yeah, okay, it's $25 to pick a window seat, whatever, it's not a big deal. But let me give you the actual number because it's genuinely shocking. In 2024, airlines globally collected $148 billion in ancillary fees. That's fees for baggage, seat selection, priority boarding, onboard purchases, all the stuff that used to be included in your ticket. And it is more than double what airlines were collecting just 8 years ago, and it's not slowing down. That number is projected to hit $157 billion by 2025. Here's a question I want you to hold in your head for the rest of this video. If airlines are making $157 billion in fees, and base ticket prices actually dropped 40% over the same period, who exactly is winning here? Write your answer in the comments right now. Because by the end of this video, I think your answer is going to change. When you break it down per passenger, airlines squeeze out an average of $35 in fees on top of the base ticket price. That sounds almost reasonable, until you realize that's the average. For every budget traveler who pays nothing extra, someone else is getting absolutely dunked on. For ultra-low-cost carriers like Frontier and Spirit, ancillary fees account for over 62% of their total revenue. The ticket price is basically just the bait. United Airlines alone brought in $1.3 billion from seat fees in 2023, surpassing even its baggage fee revenue for the first time. Choosing where you sit is now a bigger revenue line than physically transporting your luggage. This didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't an accident. This was deliberate, and the full story is actually stranger than most people know. Go back to the early 2000s. Airlines were bleeding out. Fuel costs were spiking, margins were razor thin, and budget carriers were eating the legacy airlines' lunch. American Airlines alone was burning through cash at a rate that had analysts writing obituaries. And then someone discovered something uncomfortable. When airlines added a fee for checked bags in 2008, their profits went up. Not marginally, dramatically. American Airlines alone generated $1 billion in bag fees in their first full year. $1 billion from something they used to just give you. That finding spread through the industry like a virus. But here's the part that rarely gets mentioned. The same consultants who helped design modern airline fee structures also worked with telecom companies, hotel chains, and software businesses around the same time. The unbundling playbook didn't stay in aviation, it was exported. So when you feel that familiar friction at a hotel resort fee, or when your SaaS subscription suddenly charges extra for features that used to be included, or when your car dealer offers you an $800 paint protection package at 10 p.m. when you're exhausted, you're experiencing the airline model. Deployed somewhere new. Real quick, drop a comment. Have you ever paid for a hotel resort fee and actually used the amenities that supposedly justified it? Studies show that over 71% of travelers who pay resort fees never use a single amenity included in that fee. You paid for a pool you didn't swim in, a gym you didn't use, and Wi-Fi that was probably free at the McDonald's across the street. The airline industry didn't invent hidden fees. They perfected them, and everyone else was taking notes. Let me tell you a quick story. Sarah is booking a flight from Denver to Miami for a long weekend with her husband. She sees two options. Airline 1, $238 per person. Airline 2, $289 per person. She immediately thinks Airline 1 saves them $102 total. Great. But then Airline 1 charges $39 per person each way for seat selection. They want to sit together, so that's $156 round trip. Now Airline 1 is $632 total. Airline 2 was $578 total and included standard seat selection. Then Airline 1 charges for a carry-on at $45 each way because they booked the most restrictive fare. That's another $90 if they share one carry-on. Now the cheap option is $722. The expensive option was $578. That is a $144 mistake. And here's the painful part. Sarah didn't make one huge bad decision. She made 4 tiny reasonable decisions in a row. Nobody stole from Sarah. Nobody forced her. The pricing just made the wrong option look cheaper at the exact moment she made the comparison. Quick question. When was the last time you compared 2 flight prices and only looked at the base fare? Because right now, major search engines like Google Flights and Kayak still default to showing you the base fare only. The fees aren't included in that comparison. You might be choosing the more expensive flight every single time and not even know it. Now scale that up. A family of 4 takes 3 round trips a year. Average seat selection fee, $28 per segment. 6 flight segments per year per person. That's $672 per year in seat fees alone. Just seat fees. Not bags, not food, not airport parking, not the $17 sandwich during your layover. A family of 4 could spend more on annual seat selection than some people spend on a round-trip ticket. This is where it gets really interesting because the way these fees are structured is not random. It is psychologically engineered. There's a concept in behavioral economics called drip pricing. Show the customer a low number first, then introduce additional costs one at a time during checkout. Each individual add-on feels small. You've already mentally committed to the trip. You've searched the dates, imagined yourself on the beach, maybe texted a friend about it. You're invested. So when a $25 seat selection fee pops up, you don't compare it to the $129 ticket price. You compare it to the discomfort of sitting in a random middle seat for 5 hours. And suddenly, $25 feels worth it. The first price you see becomes your anchor. If you see a flight for $149, your brain emotionally commits to $149. So when the airline later says, "Would you like to choose a seat for $31? You don't mentally update the total price to $180. You think, "Ugh, this is annoying, but the flight is still cheap," and that is exactly the point. Because if the airline had shown you the flight up front as $180, you might have compared it differently. You might have chosen another airline. But once you're inside the checkout process, you're already invested. The most expensive moment in booking a flight is not when you pay. It is when you emotionally decide you are done shopping. Here's a question nobody asks. Why is the seat map always so ugly? Seriously, have you ever noticed that airline seat maps almost universally use dark reds and grays for unavailable seats and bright greens and blues for available upgrades? That's not a design accident. Color psychology research shows warm to red tones create mild anxiety signals, while blue and green create safety and value signals. The seat map is not a map. It is a mood manipulation interface designed to make you associate stress with sitting still and relief with spending money. That's not conspiracy theory. That's UX design with a financial motive. Airlines also use decoy pricing on seat maps. The worst seats, right at the back by the bathroom, are free. Then there are standard seats for $15, then preferred seats for $35, then extra legroom seats for $75. That $15 standard seat is there specifically to make the free seats look terrible and the $35 seat look reasonable by comparison. You feel smart picking the $35 seat, which is exactly what they want. Here's something that genuinely makes me angry. When seat selection fees hit individuals, it's annoying. When they hit families, it's predatory. Picture a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids. They book flights. They can't afford the seat selection fees on top of everything else, so they skip it. And then they get to the airport and their family is randomly assigned seats across 4 different rows. The airline doesn't need to force you to pay the fee. It only needs to make not paying feel irresponsible. The Department of Transportation investigated this. Their systems detected that passengers booked together were assigned non-adjacent seats. The algorithm didn't immediately fix this. Instead, it surfaced the paid seat selection option. The family predictably paid. Whether that was intentional or a side effect of revenue optimization is technically still debated. What is not debated is the outcome. Parents pay. Every time. Some airlines have started assigning families with children under 13 together for free in 2024 after regulatory pressure. But here's what nobody's talking about. The airlines didn't lose money when they stopped charging families to sit together. Several carriers actually reported higher customer satisfaction scores, which translates directly into repeat bookings and lifetime value. The fee was never optimized for profit. It was optimized for dependency. The top 10 airline frequent flyer programs generated $32 billion in revenue in 2024. Not from flights, from credit card partnerships. And here's the part that should stop you cold. Delta's loyalty program SkyMiles is valued at more than Delta's entire airline operation. The flights are almost a loss leader. The real product they're selling is you. The airlines aren't just making money on seat fees, they're using seat fees to funnel you into their ecosystem. The The best way to beat seat fees on most major carriers is to have their co-branded credit card. American Airlines card, free seat selection. United card, free seat selection. Delta Amex, free seat selection. And this is brilliant, honestly. The airlines have created a problem, seat fees, and then sold you the solution in the form of a credit card that generates them far more revenue than the seat fee would have. You get the card. You feel like you beat the system. Free bags, free seat selection, maybe some lounge access. You feel like a savvy traveler. Meanwhile, you're carrying a card with a $550 annual fee and an APR that starts at 21%. The airline just turned a $29 seat fee into a long-term financial product. They didn't lose. They won harder. I want you to do something right now. Pull up your wallet, physically or mentally, and count how many loyalty cards and airline credit cards you have. Now ask yourself, when did you last calculate whether the benefits you use actually exceed the total cost of holding those cards? One study found that over 60% of premium travel card holders never fully offset the annual fee with actual redeemed benefits in a given year. You paid $550 for the feeling of being prepared. That's not strategy. That's marketing working on you at the highest level. So before your next flight, I want you to do one thing that almost nobody does. Do not compare ticket prices. Compare escape prices. Meaning, what does it cost to escape the bad version of the trip? What does it cost to escape the middle seat? To escape being separated from your family? To escape boarding last? That is the real comparison. Step 1. Do the full math before you commit. Before you get emotionally attached to a cheap base fare, open a second tab and add up every realistic fee. Carry-on, checked bag, seat selection. If you're traveling with someone, double it. This alone breaks the drip pricing spell. Step 2. Decide in advance what you actually value. Do not make every decision inside the checkout funnel. That is where the airline has the advantage. Before you even search, decide. Am I willing to sit in a middle seat? Do I need to sit with someone? Do I need overhead bin space? When you decide ahead of time, you make a financial decision. When you decide under pressure, you make an emotional decision. Step 3. Master the 24-hour window. Set an alarm for exactly 24 hours before departure. Airlines hold back premium seats for elite status members. At the 24-hour check-in opening, a significant portion of those held seats release into the general pool. If you are first in the check-in queue, you can grab a window or aisle seat at no charge. The same seat that cost $35 yesterday is now free. This single habit can save a frequent traveler $200 to $400 a year. Step 4. Use Google Flights fee filter. Google Flights lets you filter by carry-on and checked bag fees and see the actual cost before you even click through to the airline. It is the single best free tool for cutting through the noise. Step 5. Be surgical about the credit card. If you fly one airline more than 3 times a year and check bags, a co-branded card may pay for itself. Run the math on your actual travel patterns, not the aspirational ones, the actual ones. If the card costs $95 per year and saves you $160 in bag fees, you are definitely going to pay anyway. Maybe it makes sense. If the card costs $150 and you fly that airline once every 3 years, no, you do not need it. Quick math. If you fly 4 times per year and overpay by $300 per round trip due to unconsidered fees and suboptimal card usage, that's $1,200 per year, not invested, just gone. Over 10 years at a 7% average annual return, that's $16,579 sitting on the table. That's not one big financial mistake. That's dozens of small ones at checkout pages that were specifically designed to feel insignificant in the moment. Step 6. Reward the outliers. Southwest still includes 2 free checked bags and doesn't charge for seat selection. Recognize which carriers haven't fully surrendered to the unbundling model, and vote with your wallet when the price difference is marginal. Consumer behavior is one of the few levers that actually moves corporate pricing strategy. Here's the thing, and this is really what I want to leave you with. Airline seat fees are not actually about travel. They're a masterclass in something that shows up everywhere in your financial life. Low anchor, emotional friction, incremental add-ons, artificial urgency, confusing comparisons, a final price that shows up only after you are invested. Once you see it with airlines, you start seeing it everywhere. Food delivery, hotels, car rentals, phone plans, software subscriptions, streaming services charging you extra to share your password. The core mechanic is identical. Advertise a low anchor price, then add costs incrementally at the moment you're most psychologically committed. Once you understand unbundling, you realize half the economy is just companies showing you a low price first and the real price later. You're not bad at budgeting. You're up against a system that spent millions of dollars specifically to defeat your budget. The playing field is not level. but now you know the rules they're playing by. The moment you stop reacting to the booking experience emotionally, stop feeling the anxiety about that red, unassigned seat, stop anchoring to the initial advertised price, is the moment you stop being a profitable customer and start being a strategically informed traveler. The goal isn't to become cheap, not to obsess over every dollar, not to ruin your vacation because you refuse to pay $18 to avoid a terrible seat. The goal is to become intentional, spend on purpose, save on purpose, choose discomfort on purpose, choose convenience on purpose. But don't let the checkout page choose for you. The win is not avoiding every airline fee. The win is making sure every dollar you spend is buying something you consciously chose, not something you were nudged into buying because the cheaper option was designed to feel incomplete. So here's what I want you to do after this video. Next time you book a flight, any flight, before you get excited about that base fare, get the real number first, every fee you're realistically going to pay. Then decide. The airlines are not betting against you. They're betting that you're not paying attention. Prove them wrong. If this video helped you see something you hadn't thought about before, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos on the hidden money decisions that quietly shape your financial life, and drop a comment with the most ridiculous airline fee you've ever been charged. Because I promise you, somebody watching this has a worse one. I'll see you in the next one.